Hey everybody, welcome back for another video. Today we're going to be talking about Chinatown, because when you start looking into the American West Coast, the Pacific Northwest, you definitely find there's a lot of Asian influence at a lot of these locations on the West Coast. So I wanted to look into that a little bit, and one of the common elements are what are referred to as these Shanghai tunnels, mysterious Chinese tunnels that are attributed to the Chinese typically, but as we are looking into, these sites may have been buried at an earlier point and these tunnels are just being attributed to the Chinese. But when you actually start looking into a lot of these Chinatowns that are in these different cities on the west coast of the United States, you will find that a lot of them are destroyed at some point. And this is the Chinatown in San Francisco as it appears, so we're told, after the earthquake in, I believe, 1906. So I wanted to kind of look along these lines just to see what happened with these Chinatowns. And this is just a purported image from Chinatown in San Francisco. So I wanted to see what happened to some of these other Chinatowns. And again, we're in the Pacific Northwest talking about Tacoma, Washington, and where is their Chinatown? And I came across some information just talking about how in Tacoma, their historic Chinatown was on the city's waterfront near the Northern Pacific Railroad terminus, which is this structure right here. And we're being told that this area was known as Little Canton. So I find that really interesting because there is this old city hall that I featured in a recent video that had these yellow bricks, Roman style bricks, and there was a lot of questions surrounding the structure. So I think these buildings may be a bit older, but what I did find very interesting was, according to the history, we're told that in 1885, white citizens of Tacoma forcibly removed the city's Chinese residents, an event known as the Tacoma Chinese Expulsion, which led to the burning of Chinatown days later. So now we have a second location. We looked at San Francisco just briefly. That Chinatown is burned and destroyed. And now we're in Tacoma, Washington. This Chinatown is burned and destroyed. And when you start looking into this, there was a period of time, according to the official history once again, when West Coast cities tried to drive out their Chinatowns. And this phenomenon that happened in Tacoma, Washington in 1885, where people were forcibly removed from their homes and expelled from the cities, and the buildings were destroyed, this became a method that was used by other cities along the West Coast, and it became known as the Tacoma method. And it was an effective way to subdue Chinese communities on the West Coast. So this was happening in other cities along the West Coast. And Tacoma, Washington is very close to Seattle, Washington. So in 1886, this Tacoma method was employed, we're told, in Seattle as well. And once again, you had the Chinese populations being expelled and their homes and buildings being burned and destroyed. And I just wanted to add, of course, we're told also there was a great fire in Seattle in 1889, which burned a lot of Seattle. So I think all these dates, I'm very suspect of all these dates, but I do believe there was some destructive event in the past. And after this destructive event, this is when you get the old world buildings that start to get built, in my opinion. And we're told that a lot of these buildings were constructed in a short period of time, largely starting in the 1890s, with relatively small population. So I do believe there were Chinese populations, but I also believe that there could have been an earlier version of all of this. And all these great fires and the Tacoma method is just a way to explain why all these places are burned and destroyed and the people are gone. Like, I think that might be a cover story in essence. But when you look into Seattle also, the majority, we're told, of Seattle's early workforce was made up of migrant, Asian, and indigenous workers. And an interesting thing also about Seattle is, very close to Seattle, there is an island called Bainbridge Island. And there actually was a lost Japanese village that they have found on Bainbridge Island. And there are some images, but archaeologists, students actually are digging up this old Japanese village. And again, what I'm wondering is the reason why this place was abandoned and buried partially is because of this destructive event. So when you dig up some information on this particular village, we're told the village businesses and homes were dismantled and the site became overgrown and there was little left to see of this once thriving community. So again, it's my opinion that there was a destructive event that buried a lot of these sites and burned a lot of these areas, and I think we're given cover stories in my opinion. This is just some more images of that Japanese village we're told and some of these artifacts, and they could have had a presence here, but I just wonder if it goes back further than we're told. Now, one thing I do want to point out is on this island, Bainbridge Island, walking the shores of this particular port associated with this island, you find bricks everywhere, and some of these bricks are Scottish and some of them are English. And again, that's a long trip in the mid 1800s, around the bottom of South America all the way up to the west coast of the United States. But we're told that some of these bricks were these T-car bricks that they're finding on this island very close to Seattle. T-car, and I just wanted to mention these T-car bricks, they're some of the ones that are found in San Francisco, linked to this bluff / retaining wall where there are all these bricks that some of them are stamped with the name T-car. So these bricks have a way of showing up in all these different locations. And again, I'll try to play some of the video, but some of these bricks appear to be melted almost. They're like something happened to them, which I find interesting because you can go to the East Coast of the United States, Portland, Maine, actually, and the people report finding these T-car bricks that also appear to be burned, but they're linked to this factory that burned in 1873, and that could be the case, but I think there was just, we're looking at some of the effects of this destructive event. And once again, Portland, Maine also has a great fire linked to it where hardly anybody dies. And yeah, just fascinating. But the whole link to Japanese, Chinese populations on the West Coast is interesting. And a lot of you are probably aware there's this old map from 1776 of the West Coast, which features a location, which features this Chinese colony, Fusang, and there's a lot of questions about this map, but it's just something of note to point out. So I just wanted to talk about this Tacoma method and the forced expulsion of all these communities along the West Coast. So I think that definitely happened in our recent past, but I also think it's a cover story to explain away why all these Chinatowns are burned to the ground potentially. So I think that's about all I got for you for today. I do want to give a big shout out to my channel members. Thank you for all your help and support. It's greatly appreciated. As well as my patrons, thank you for all your help and support as well. It's also greatly appreciated. So with that being said, until next time, take care. Bye.